Hey, it's Aaron from GameEnthus.com, and in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at Explosion in the Laboratory from Weird Giraffe Games. Explosion in the Laboratory is an 18-card push-your-luck game. It's also worth mentioning that Explosion in the Laboratory is set in the Fire in the Library universe, thus creating the Weird Giraffe Games universe. Maybe I'm projecting, but I'm sure we all knew that was inevitable. Explosion in the Laboratory was designed by Corey Andalora with art from Jay Bell and Katy Grierson. In Explosion in the Laboratory, players, 1 to 4 of them, are going to be chemists mixing compounds in an experimental laboratory. The push luck element is because you'll be accruing points for creating chemicals that have not exploded, while should you continue to combine compounds, you come closer and closer to bringing that explosion to fruition. Okay, we have explosions, we have push your luck elements. Let's see how it looks on the table. Let me just say up front that as far as I know, the components that you're going to see for Explosion in the Laboratory are prototypes. So it's entirely possible that it might come in this very uniquely rounded edge plastic case. It also could not. I'm not sure. It might not be indicative of what the final product will be. The game is pretty small. As you can see, it fits inside this rounded edge plastic case. It makes a sound like this when you flick it. Yeah, it makes that sound. Essentially 5 different types of cards. You have 7 process cards, and process cards are things that players can play during the first phase of their turn, which is the, well, if you're looking here, turn planning. You would play one of these cards. So they're double-sided. So some allow you to, I guess, ignore things. This one says neutralize. Ignore the chemical that caused an explosion. Return the mixing compounds. The other side says catalyze. Choose a player to start with a chemical color of your choice. That could spell trouble. There's also 3 beaker cards. So whatever you're combining are going to ultimately make a green substance, green compound, purple, or this orange, yellowish kind of color. There's also 6 flask cards, and these are the flasks that you're filling up with the various compounds, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. So this is just half full of something yellow. This is completely full, and this one actually has the process card icon, so should you complete it, you get to pick another process card, which can be helpful. These are the lab cards, and the game has an interesting way of allowing you to figure out which one you've actually done. And then last but certainly not least, you have a reference card which shows you the different phases on your turn, and it also gives you a compound guide so you can see how everything is created. So, you know, any color plus black equals an explosion, 2 reds are an explosion, half a red and red are an explosion. So it shows you. Okay, so when the game begins, what you're going to do is you're going to line up the beaker cards in order, in like the lowest index. So this, it might be hard to say, this is an index of 1, index of 2, and this has an index of 4. I know you see 1, 2, 3. These are research points. Okay, so in addition to having research points on all the different sides and the index levels, you're also going to have fire levels. That's these little, the fire levels are these red icons here. So when the game begins, you only have 1 fire level here, but as you make progress, you'll be turning the cards, which will offer different number of research points, and you'll get to a point where you're going to have certainly more than 1 fire point being shown on screen, and then eventually there'll be 2. So it's going to add up, and you'll see how that works. You shuffle the process cards up. Everybody would essentially take 1. So the one that I got, and it's indicative of just what a turn would be. Everybody would take their turn sort of mixing compounds and trying to score points to see if they win. You know, how the game works is by the time you get to the end, by the time you get to this yellow X, if this rotates in, the game is over, essentially. So if you see the yellow X anywhere, it says yellow X on all the different cards. They all are going to have one. And they're going to rotate independently, depending on how many turns have been taken and what compounds have been scored. Let's say I make this green compound. I would get that point for research. And then if you see the arrow here, I'm going to turn the card. So you're always going to turn the lowest index value. So right now the lowest is 1. So I would turn this one like this. You're going to see these other values because people are going to push their luck. And when you score a beaker, let's say I made this green compound, I would get 1 research point. I would also turn the card. And cards are also going to turn when it goes from player to player. So if it's the second player's turn, because the first player scored or they stopped, however their turn came to an end. Before the second player would go, the lowest index card would turn. I shuffle the process cards, everybody would take 1. And one side says formulate, score 1 of your intuitions again. Nice. Meaning if you had already had 1 that you had scored out, you could score it again. So this one says buffer, increase or decrease the revealed chemical value by 1. The chemical must exist. So the game will begin. Right now there is a fire level of 1 because just one of these icons is facing me between these 3 different edges of the card here. So just a 1. So it starts off slowly, but it's going to build. So you shuffle up the lab cards and then you would lay them all out. Shuffle up the lab cards, lay them out going left to right. Check to see what my fire level is. It's a fire level of 1 because I only have 1 of these facing me on this edge, which means I'm going to go to card 1. See the same icon here, the same triangle? I'm going to go to card 1. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the number on the leftmost edge of the first card and the rightmost edge of the last card. I'm going to add them together. So I have a 5 and I have a 4, which means I have 9. Card 1, spot 9. And that happens to be yellow. So 5 and 4 is 9. Happens to be a yellow, which means I have half a beaker of yellow. 1 of my 3. You can only have 3 beakers. So it also means I'm going to score 1 intuition point for that. So I'm at 1 point right now. And I could stop, but I'm not going to score a lot of points if I stop. I have to keep pushing. You have at least, you can make 3. So, and you can explode. There are ways to explode for sure. But, we're not there yet. Yellow isn't going to explode unless it gets combined with the bomb. All right, so I'm going to shuffle these up. And I'm going to go again. Let's see. See what we have here. None of these cards are going to turn because I haven't completed any one of these compounds yet. So I'm still here at 1. But now, look at that, 20 and 3. I'm looking at 1 and 23, which is another yellow. I'm going to flip this over. So now this is a full beaker of yellow, but it has the process icon. Now I guess I'm at 3 points. That's how I interpret that. So at 1, now I'm at 3, I believe. So now I can take another process card. Okay, now 15 and 2. So now we're at 17. 17 is red. Ooh, okay. So now we have that. Okay, so now 15 and then an X. So I believe if you have a card that has the X, you're supposed to go for the card that's next to it. So instead of going for the X, I'm gonna go for 17 again, which is not what I wanted to happen.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
And what would happen is for the next player, the lowest one of these would rotate. So now this would go up to 2. So now if they happen to make a green, they can get 2 points, whereas on my turn I can only get 1 for making the green. Now they can get 2. I'm gonna let some of this smoke and some of this dust clear up, and I'm going to say more words about explosion in the laboratory. So that was Explosion in the Laboratory. As you can see, the pressure luck element is kind of hard to avoid. It's fun to kind of see just how close you can get to making something that'll score you points, especially if you have a planning card that you put out beforehand and you're really trying to get to that to score more points, to get the lead, maybe to mount a small comeback or what have you. Very fun game, very small, just tuck it away in your pocket or a small bag. It's a fun solo game, fun with other players. It's fun to see how close you and other people can come to just triggering those explosions and scoring those points. Explosion Laboratory is a fun, push your luck, hot potato of a game to feast your hands on. If Explosion Laboratory seems like something that you would enjoy, I highly suggest that you click on the link below in the description so you can go to its crowdfunding page and support it and get your own copy. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe. Be blessed.